All right, we're back. Another edition of Riding Home. If you see this happen at G Day, it's not a good thing. That's what we're going to cover right now. What do you not want to see, Matt DeBerry? And if you see it, it's a bad sign for the Georgia Bulldogs.
The first thing that came to my mind was maybe some iffy play from Gunnar Stockton. I think this is a big kind of moment for him. You want to have good backup quarterback play, especially if you know, with injuries. We see it all the time, more and more, not only at the collegiate level but the NFL level. As Florida State, it's important to have a good backup quarterback, and we've seen him play, right? We know how good he is. I want to see how good he's done this spring, how much more he's developed. I think it would be a little odd to see him come out and not play well. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to let it rip and maybe run a little bit and show what he has to offer. So if he has, maybe a little suspect quarterback play, I think I'd be a little surprised there, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, the default answer to that question is an injury, right? You don't want to get a significant injury at this point in the season that would, likely hold someone out for the majority of it. I think that's the easy answer. Um, I don't want to see the defense get torched. I guess I don't think that's a good sign. Now, like to play the game that Kirby played the other day, is it just because of this, right? Does the defense get torched because Carson Beck is one of the best quarterbacks in college football and he's going to do that? But you'd like to see a secondary that's going to have three new starters out of their five play really well against the best competition they can have, which is against their offense.
Yeah, both good points. I think the big thing for me is you do not want to see the running backs just going through the defense. To piggyback on what Ryan said, I think in a spring game where you're going to have limited runs, I would imagine like an explosive run would be a good thing. I guess if you want to say that, but you can't see a guy going for 125 or something like that, Matt, on 8 carries. I mean, that's just not going to work.
Yeah, my next point was missed tackles. And it's
Yeah.
fine if the running backs are forcing them and running through guys and, making good plays. But these linebackers and these defenders are too talented. They're too good. They're playing for Georgia. They're really good players. I don't want to see them, or no one wants to see them go out and just miss tackles they should make, or, miss some assignments. And, you know, they should be going 100%. I'm hoping these players, especially some of these young defenders, are eager and ready for this moment to show what they can do. So I think some missed tackles and, again, maybe some iffy play by the linebackers, guys, maybe not necessarily taking advantage of their opportunity. So that would possibly be a little concerning, Ryan.
Yeah, I think if you kind of flip it around, you want to see pressure from the defensive line, right?
Mm.
Supposedly the best offensive line in the country. At least we think it has a very good chance to be that. They're not going to be allowed to actually hit Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi and Carson Beck, but can they at least get back there and make them have to move around, make them have to step up? Is that going to be because if they can do that against Georgia's offensive line and showcase that here, then there really is no question they should be able to do that against the rest of the teams of college football.
Yeah, but that's something, Jalen Walker, let's see. Williams, Jalen Walker. Who are the pass rushers here, Matt, that we're talking about?
I mean, you got Damon Wilson, you got Chaz Chambliss,
Yeah.
Gabe Harris, Sam Pemba. Maybe one of those guys enters the transfer portal when the spring opens up. I mean, not all these guys are going to play, especially if you're moving Michael Williams to
Yeah.
that kind of stand-up outside linebacker spot. And Jalen Walker is too talented to not maybe take on one of those starting jobs wherever it is, whether it's helping at inside linebacker or moving outside. He's versatile. So you've got a lot of guys, especially those three that were true freshmen last year. Damon Wilson, who I know, Ryan's probably heard a lot about. A lot of people are happy with how he's progressed this spring. Gabe Harris is really athletic at 6'5", 250. He flashed late in games last year when the ball game was over. And Sam Pemba was a highly ranked kid as well. So those guys want to see the field. And I'm excited to see how those guys have progressed as well. So we should see a lot from those young players, especially in the 22 class and the 23 class as well this spring.
The thing that will be so odd, Ryan, I was going to try to shift this thing a little bit. The thing that will be so odd on Saturday is there are some guys who have changed their number, but then there's going to be so many guys who, like you were just talking about with Sam and Pimba or like CJ Allen's changed his number, right? I mean, he's gone from
Yeah.
33 to 3. So people will be like, well, who's number 3?
Hmm.
And so so like maybe the whole game, but a lot of it, you will have a learning curve as to who is what. I am curious, Ryan, what will happen on the offensive line. I mean, you've got some guys who are punched in there. Is Tate playing some center as the backup?
I think that that's
Yeah.
basically what they're doing is making him the backup center, giving him reps over there. But it should be Jared Wilson in that starting center spot. It'd be surprising at this point for it to be someone else other than that. That's what I'm most interested in is who's that first group that they throw out there, right? But that doesn't mean that's going to be the first group in September or the first group in week 4 because we've seen them pick and choose based off of matchups and based off of just trying different things out. But how quickly are they rotating? How often? How many guys does it look like they're actually giving first unit time? Will be an interesting thing to look at because you watch the Georgia game. I mean, they're subbing people out in the first quarter, and it's like a basketball rotation almost.
Hey, getting back to Gunner, he was asked today why he didn't transfer, wouldn't transfer, Ryan. And here's the quote. He said, "Carson is the perfect example. He's shown resilience and he's waited his turn. He's worked hard. He's proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks. It's just a privilege to take from him and get to learn from him. It's pretty awesome. At Georgia, you're going to win. That's the biggest part, and you can get a lot, and you can go to a lot of different places. But there's a lot of things that Georgia has that they can't offer. That's probably the biggest part."
Yeah, that was, just coming fresh off of that press conference a little while ago. Very quiet, right? You think it can't get much quieter and much calmer than Carson Beck? Go right behind him and talk to Gunnar Stockton. Heck, there's not much he's got to say except for that word over and over again. But
Heck,
um,
yeah.
he seems happy, right? That's kind of the biggest takeaway. He seems to be pleased with where things are at. Kirby seems to be pleased with where things are at with him in terms of progression. But yeah, I mean, it was around this time in Carson Beck's progression as a player and timeline as a football player where we were watching him make really, really good plays in these spring games and in practices and everything. So, like what Matt was saying at the beginning, you don't want to see Gunnar Stockton kind of struggle at this point in time because it's year 3. These steps forward should be a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And he's going to be in a quarterback competition to be Georgia's starting quarterback next year. And that's a big thing. So, yeah, as far as confidence goes in the future of the program, him having a productive day would make that better.
Yeah, I think it was
Go
I think
ahead,
it was an
man.
easy decision to come back when Brock Vandagriff left anyway, because he actually got promoted, got a bump on the depth chart instead of going backwards. But I still don't think Gunnar Stockton said all that. I've talked to the kid a lot, and that's more than he's ever said.
That's what I'm saying. When you said that quote, I was like, that he did not just say all that sitting down.
Yeah. But you got to remember, he's such a physical runner, too. So we're not really going to see that aspect, unfortunately, at G-Day. But I'm excited to see the progress that he's made for sure. And a lot of the young guys, I mean, the offensive linemen that they brought in, those guys are massive. I'm excited to see the size of those dudes when they've got those pads on. So a lot of big guys. So it'll be interesting to see, like Dean said, the numbers. You've always got the weird numbers, the high 20s on some kids. You got to figure them out real quick. But I feel like there's several freshmen, y'all, that are going to flash a little bit during G-Day.
What number would you be if you played at Georgia this fall, Matt?
I like 24. 24 has always been a number. I wore number 10 in baseball, but I like 2s and 4s. Those are the numbers I go for sometimes. Yeah.
18 was my football number a long, long time ago. So basketball was 1. So those were kind of my 2 numbers.
Okay.
Dean seems like a 72.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, clearly some of y'all have never
78.
44.
Never been husky before. The funniest thing was when you were kids, they would just hand out uniforms and you'd go 1 through 14, or whatever you were. I was never anything other than 14 or 15. And, it's just so funny because, like, obviously the lower the number, the lower the the smaller the jersey. I remember going to Coker and I told Coach, I said, man, I'd really like to be number 10. And he goes, well, we got 41 available. So I was
Nice.
41, and it's what it is. But I do want to see too, Ryan. I want to see if for Gunner Stockton, just on throwing, forget the running, is it easy? Like, is it just going to be an easy thing? It doesn't look hard. You need as many it doesn't look hard as possible.
Yeah, and I felt like at the Orange Bowl there was kind of a few of each, right? A couple where it's like, oh, dude, what are you doing? It's that close to being picked. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see the risky throws. But he mentioned about a practice recently where he didn't really throw an incompletion the whole time or something like that. So he can have moments like that. And we've seen him be surgical at Rabun County. We've seen him have moments at Georgia. But if he can sit there and pick apart a Georgia defense, that confidence level and, hey, this guy can lead us in the future, it's going to rise.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you after the game over on Dawg Post for our riding home. Bye.